Happy Sunday, everyone, and welcome in to the crowded booth. Yeah, it's a different kind of time frame for our show, but hey, holiday weekend, we got more stuff coming up, so we're going to go ahead and knock this show out tonight. Thanks so much for watching, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Facebook, anywhere you might be finding the show. Make sure you follow us there, and then obviously get in over on the YouTube channel and subscribe as well. We appreciate it, and we can't wait for an action-packed show. Which college football teams are going to surprise? We each have one. We'll get into potentially some honorable mentions, but we each have one that we're focusing on that Vegas odds have their over-under win total set. We think they could exceed that on tonight's episode of the Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.
Welcome in and welcome in. My name is Bryce Koon alongside Will Manis and Ralph Lear. We appreciate you tuning in here on July 7th, which means, guys, we are, 40-something days from the start of, 45, almost 50 days until college football officially kicks off on week 0. Obviously, our show has a vested interest in that week, one of those week 0 games. When you look at that slate, guys, I mean, look, you see a lot of games that are going to be
Go Noles.
fun. So there's that. There's that. But week 0, I mean, my big one that I'm going to be paying attention to, SMU's headed on the road to Nevada, and that's going to be a fun one. That's going to be a fun one to watch there in week 0. So we can't wait to tune in. But hey, make sure you hit that like button.
Pony up. This is an SMU podcast.
Yes, it is. Pony up.
Just wait till the t-shirts come in. Just wait till the t-shirts come in. But tonight we're talking about college football teams that could surprise in 2024. Adam says, Bryce, college football 25 in 8 days. Need it now. We are going to be, obviously, stay tuned to the channel. We're back next week with that. Can't wait for Ralph to have to work every single day next week.
Yeah.
He'll be making the money, and Will and I'll just be hanging out. So let's rock and roll. Let's talk about it. We each have 3 teams, how this is going to go, that we each have one team, 3 total teams that we are going to kind of pitch to the other 2 guys. And then we'll have some dialogue on it. We'll kind of talk about, what we think. I hope you guys brought your research. If not, people will call you out, but that's fine. So, Will, we're going to let you go first.
Called out regardless.
Regardless. Guy on the left, we're going to let you go first with the white hat. You're going to rock and roll first. I know you're picking a Big 12 team. So, without further ado.
Not a surprising Big 12 team.
Pause real
Big
quick.
12.
Going to the Big 12. I want to pause. All these over-under win totals are brought to you by Bet Online. All right, let's rock and roll with it.
Going to the Big 12, America's Conference, the UCF Knights. You see their win total there, over 7.5 wins. Let me just roll you through their schedule real quick. They open with New Hampshire and Sam Houston, so a couple layups. Then they go on the road to TCU week 3. Then they off a week, they host Colorado. Then they go to Florida October 5th. Now, you normally would think, they're playing an SEC team, but they don't have a chance. And it's Florida. Florida season could be over by October 5th. We've talked ad nauseum about Florida's schedule, so we don't have to say too much about them. Then Cincinnati, they beat Cincinnati last year on the road. Both of those teams first year in the Big 12. I like that matchup. They have to go to Iowa State. That'll be a tricky game. Host BYU. November's kind of scary. For them. They host Arizona. Then they go to Arizona State. They go to West Virginia and host Utah. So I think their 2 toughest games of the season, Arizona and Utah. They get them at home, and their roster's in a much better spot. And we've seen Gus Malzahn do some really good things in November. So I heard him say it many times, you get remembered in November. So I think we'll be remembering UCF come the end of the year. You look at their transfers they brought in. Their 2 big ones, Penny Boone, running back coming in from Louisville, and the quarterback from Arkansas, KJ Jefferson. Now, I got some laughs from these 2 guys when I said this, when KJ Jefferson announced he was going to UCF, that he'll be a Heisman finalist in New York. I think he is the perfect quarterback for Gus Malzahn's offense, for what he wants to do, the way he likes to run the football, physical downhill running game. He's got a quarterback again that can do that. We saw him do it with Cam Newton, obviously, at Auburn. That's the best example. But KJ Jefferson actually threw the ball a lot better than I think people think he threw it at Arkansas. He was there for 5 years. He completed over 65% of his passes. It's a really good number in the SEC West, which is, probably the toughest division in college football. So now he goes to UCF, to the Big 12. Probably going to be a little bit. Defenses are still good in the Big 12, but I think he should have similar, if not better, success. And while he was at Arkansas, he ran for over 1,600 yards and 17 touchdowns. You saw this offense last year. Some really good numbers. 4th in the country in third down conversion percentage, 4th in the nation rushing, 8th in total offense. I mean, that's Gus Malzahn's formula. And he had it working last year. And I think he's got a better roster. He's got a better quarterback, a better running back for it. And I think they'll do the same thing. They'll get in 3rd and short, and then KJ Jefferson, he'll just fall down and he'll get a first down for him. I've seen Gus Malzahn run that play thousands of times. The defense is a bit of a question mark, but they did really well in the portal. They went out and got Nigel Kelly from Miami, the edge. He'll start there. I mean, they get a lot of new bodies. They bring in Mac McWilliams from UAB, had a really good year last year at UAB at cornerback. Sheldon Arnold comes in to help at safety, as well as former Auburn Tiger Ladarius Tennyson made his way down to Orlando to play for Gus. So, I really like UCF. I really like their schedule. Obviously love Gus Malzahn. Love his offense. I think he's got the pieces here to really put it together. I think 7.5 wins, that it seems just like a gift. I mean, a gift to me from Vegas.
Yeah, so you look at the Big 12's over under win total, and there's like 4 teams with it 7.5. Then there's like 7 or 8 teams that are within kind of this 7.5 to like 5 range. I mean, so as we know, the Big 12 is kind of this just gauntlet in terms of everyone's going to beat up on each other, and we'll see who the 2 teams are standing at the end of the season. So UCF has recruited very, very well. I believe they had the number 1 class in the Big 12 this past 2024 cycle. So they're starting to stack talent, and just in terms of who they're bringing in. UCF recruits the city of Atlanta very, very well. Gus does a really good job up there in Atlanta. You talked about a couple of transfers. They also bring in Vanderbilt linebacker Ethan Barr, Deshaun Pace, a kind of a combo linebacker safety out of Cincinnati, and then Ladarius Tennyson, who I believe you mentioned, there as well. And hey, Ted Roof is going to be in the building for this UCF team. So, the veteran play caller,
national champion. That's national champion defensive coordinator Ted Roof.
You know what? And we'll see if the marriage going back to that 2010 season is going to work here. But, I mean, I was kind of looking at this and looking at some different previews. It really feels like the Big 12 as a conference, and Ralph, you can chime in here as well, but it really feels like the Big 12 conference is one of those where you just have to find a way to play a physical brand of football and survive. UCF's strength, according to a lot of the experts, is really kind of on that defensive line. You mentioned Nigel Kelly. They're returning 2 interior defensive linemen that a lot of people really like. So it feels like Gus Malzahn, what he does, he's the offensive guy. If that defense is good enough, why not UCF, playing in the Big 12 title game? I don't know. I think that's kind of I think that I don't think this is a bold claim to say they could go over 7.5 wins, but I was kind of surprised it was that low, and maybe it's just due to the perception of we don't really know what the Big 12 is going to look like in 2024.
Yeah, they are plus 750 to win the Big 12. Another number I like a lot. If I was going to put up some money, I like that number a lot. I think the Big 12 is kind of gettable. I mean, we know they've got strong teams. Like you said, you just kind of have to find a way to survive. Yeah. I really think the only team that you would argue could be dominant would be Utah. They don't get them till the end of the season. They get them at home. I think that things are playing into UCF's favor, I think, with their schedule and just what they have coming back. And, I'm with you. I was shocked when I saw it was set at 7.5.
And I think you did mention this one. Apologies if you did. Obviously, local guy to the Columbus area and kind of the surrounding Columbus area, Kobe Hudson. They're hoping he can emerge as that number 1 receiver in place of Javon Baker, that headed off to the NFL. So there's a lot of weapons. I don't think people are going to doubt what UCF can do offensively. It's more of, hey, there's a lot of pieces coming back defensively. You felt like you added to positions of need in the portal. Do those guys pan out combined with Ted Roof? Can you conjure up a little bit of that magic? Ralph, your thoughts on kind of what we've been talking about? And I know I alluded to earlier, just if the defensive line is a strength for UCF, that's big going into conference play.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Will though. I like this UCF team. I like their move to the Big 12 the second year now. Gus Malzahn, obviously a fan favorite between Will and I. We've been on the Gus bus for a long time. I like what he's done down there in the portal this past year, and then what he does recruiting wise. I think he's just such an underrated recruiter. I mean, you got a lot of head coaches who go out there and recruit. Kirby, obviously, you think about when Saban was head coach, and you got a lot of assistant coaches that do such a great job. Gus does a terrific job. He really does. He interacts with these guys so much that, he's able to pull them into, bring them into Orlando and buy into his program and, buy into the system. You go back to Auburn toward the end of Malzahn's career there. The offense got a little, lackluster and just kind of lost its mojo every game. At UCF, it didn't feel like that way. They feel like they're just excited every play, every game, and they go out there and play their best, and they ride behind them. So I like what UCF's got this year. Their schedule looks pretty favorable in their part. The Big 12 is kind of open now with Oklahoma and Texas departing. You bring in some different teams over Utah, obviously, but hey, Utah is coming off a kind of a rough year with no quarterback. They got their quarterback this year, but is he fully healthy to go, and play this year? Will he be the same? We don't know. UCF's got a good chance. I mean, 7.5 is a little low for them, honestly.
Yeah. I guess it's just a lot of this, and kind of we talked about earlier, it's just the depiction of, is the Big 12 going to just be this bloodbath where the conference champion's like a 9-3 team? Like, is that what it's going to be? Which could happen. And hey, that's last time, if my maths correctly, 9 wins is over 7.5. So, I think that, Will, when you look at that schedule, I know you were kind of alluding to this earlier, there's not too many games where you're like, hey, they don't have a chance. Could they lose them? Yeah, they could, but it doesn't feel like there's a lot of games on the schedule where you're like, they are going to be heavy underdogs heading into that matchup.
No, I don't see a single one. I mean, they play at home. The bounce house has turned into a true home field advantage down there. They get rocking down there in Orlando. So they're a fun team. And, I think the majority of their home games, they'll be favorites. They could be a small favorite, less than a touchdown, but I think they'll be favored. There's only a handful of games where I think they'd be underdogs. Iowa State might be one of them. They could be a home underdog to Utah. I mean, we really don't know what Utah is going to look like. They've got a 40-year-old playing quarterback out there. So, who knows what it's going to look like come November. But I like UCF. Like them a lot.
Yeah.
I said it when they hired Gus. He is going to get UCF over the hump and into the playoff. And even if it didn't expand to 12, I would still stand by that. And I would feel real confident in saying that they had a good chance this year to be in that top 4. But with 12, and, I think they can win the Big 12. You keep talking about that defensive line. You've got to have a good D-line in the Big 12 now. It's not the Big 12 of old. Teams aren't going to air it out. They're not throwing it around as much. They're playing physical run games across the conference. And, it looks good for UCF. I think UCF's a good matchup for just about every game they play.
Yeah, no, I like what you said there. That's kind of spot on. Ralph, any final thoughts here on UCF as we kind of move on to the next team?
No, I mean, I agree with Will. I was going to cut in before he started that comment, and I was going to say the bounce house is rocking, dude. If they get this like late Saturday night, sometimes those Friday night games, the bounce house is rocking.
And what about when Shador and Dion come to town September 28th?
We should go.
You talk about a clash of styles.
Yeah.
Gus and Dion could not be more opposite.
It's I'll be honest with you though, but it's low. And I will tell you this: you look at that schedule, you're going to play the top quarterbacks in this conference. Shador is one of them, whether you like it or not. The quarterback from Arizona, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Fafita. I don't know what it is. Fafita. He is really, really good. And really Arizona is going to come to town towards the end of the season. You start to kind of look Cam Rising, like you mentioned. Even West Virginia's Garrett Green. People are, high on him as a top 20 quarterback.
Green's a fun quarterback to watch.
So, You're going to warm up with New Hampshire and Sam Houston, and then you're on the road at TCU, a night kickoff on September 14th. UCF's going to be fun to watch this year. Can they get over the hump? Time will tell, but 7.5 wins will do. I'm tempted to start best bets so early this year. Are you locking this one in? Do you want to say best bet for is kind of a we'll do preseason. This is the spring training.
For a win total, absolutely. I would be shocked if they don't get to 8 wins.
Right,
And Gus Malzahn, he's Mr. 8-4. So I mean,
putting the bet in now, right now.
It's on a tee for me here.
Yeah, and make sure you check out Bet Online for all your sports betting needs. All right, so let's keep it rolling, Ralph. We're gonna let you go next. You're headed to the All Coast Conference, the almost competitive conference. The ACC.
I didn't say it, you said it.
I said it. Will goes UCF. Ralph's going Duke.
Yes,
take the floor.
I like this.
A very surprising team last year. They had a terrific start with a win against Clemson last year, with Ryan Leonard and everything they had going on last year. Injuries to Leonard happen. Mike Elko departs, and now you're back to square one. You go and hire Manny Diaz, a terrific defensive-minded head coach, which was Duke's strong suit last 2 years under Elko. And then Leonard leaves, so you have to fill the quarterback role. Well, you get Malik Murphy from Texas, who to me is a terrific quarterback, and I think might be a better version of Riley Leonard, in my opinion. I think he is way more athletic. I think he has a better arm. I think he can do more for you in offense. Now, your schedule starts off, for one, the win total is at 5.5. You go at home against Elon, at Northwestern, home against UConn, at Middle Tennessee State.
Why are they playing at Middle Tennessee State?
What are we doing? 4 straight wins, in my opinion. Easily.
The Derek Mason led Blue Raiders, by the way. Anyways,
and then you start the gauntlet.
Ralph coming out bold. Just go ahead and giving Duke Northwestern. You forget how good Northwestern was last year.
They're at Northwestern at 9 o'clock. Apologies.
They're much improved.
Be on the lake.
On the CW.
But they're much improved.
Yeah. Then you start the gauntlet of you go at home against North Carolina, at Georgia Tech, at home Florida State, at home SMU, at Miami, at NC State versus Virginia Tech at home, and then at Wake Forest in the season. It's a gauntlet. Right
Sorry, you said Wake Forest. Keep going.
Everyone up to Wake Forest. Apologies, but you're starting the season off, 3-1, 4-0 in that situation. All you gotta do is steal 2 or 3 more wins. I mean, you could probably do that from your conference teams. I believe you could steal one from Miami. I know you easily get one from Wake Forest. And North Carolina, and North Carolina's not up to the par this year. Look, Duke's sitting there pretty right now with 5.5 wins this year. I think they go over easily.
Go ahead and say it. They're on the road in Atlanta. Say it.
I'm holding off.
Why not? Though, why not?
All right.
I don't know what just happened.
Sorry, I said it. I'm sorry. I said it now. My camera cut off. I don't know what happened. My bad. Sorry. But look, Duke, obviously they get Malik Murphy. They bring back Jaquez Moore. He withdrew from the transfer portal when he was told that he had a good chance to play this year. They bring in Bryce, one of our favorite teams, underrated teams, Mercer's Al Wooten II, running back.
Love me some Al Wooten.
He is now transferred to Duke and could be possibly in that rotation at running back. They bring in a lot of offensive linemen for the portal, some of the defensive linemen, just help bulk up the offensive line, which was kind of weak last year. They return their returning starters at linebacker. Let me pull it back up. And their really leading tackler, Trey Freeman. They're starting corner and cornerbacks, Chandler Rivers and Jalen Stinson. They added some depth to that defensive line this year. Look, Duke last year was really good defensively, greatly coached with Mike Elko. But, look, Mike Elko's a great coach. Manny Diaz is just as good as defense coordinator, I think. I will not push back. I will not push Manny Diaz down. I think he's a great defensive-minded head coach. He's done so well at Penn State lately. He needed another chance.
He did bad at Miami.
Look, and the thing with Miami is it's not his fault. You can't blame everything on the head coach every single year. Manny Diaz is not a bad head coach. He's a great defensive-minded head coach, and he's going to do great things to do. Duke's going to allow him to do what he can do for the next few years. They're not pushing for a national championship right now. They'll let him build his team up, get better, get some guys in there, and develop a strong program. I think 5.5 wins is a solid sitting for them, and I think they can hit the over.
Yeah. No, well, a couple things, and then I'll let Will go. I like what you said about, him being a good defensive-minded head coach, because what did this hire do and why we liked it was because it continues the continuity. Like, it creates continuity from going from Elko to Manny Diaz in terms of you don't have to completely flip how your roster is constructed. Like, they lost 4 starting defensive linemen on that group last year. We've got to see how they look there, but they were really good at that position. They, like you said, Ralph, they bring in their top 3 tacklers. And here's another thing. The ACC is much like the Big 12 in terms of teams, the number 3 team to the number 10 team it's all interchangeable. We just don't really know. And so when you look at that schedule, I've got it here in front of me. If you're looking for 6 wins, if that's what you're saying, Elon, I know Will was tentative towards Northwestern, but even if you started off 3-1, you can find 3 more wins on this schedule. You definitely can. If you say Wake Forest is 1-2, you need 2 more. You need 2 more. And I'm just not sure. It would baffle me. I will say this. It would absolutely baffle me if Duke started the season, regardless if you want to say 4-0 and 3-1, and they did not get a win between September 21st and November 30th. That would blow my mind if that happened. And that's why part of the reason, maybe that's crazy, but that's part of the reason I think they can hit the over.
Yeah. Go, Will, go. That's fine. You got it.
So, yeah, I'm with both of you on Manny Diaz. I think Manny Diaz is probably the most underrated hire of the coaching cycle. I kind of had some questions at first, but then thinking more about it, it's a really good hire for the same reasons you said, Bryce. Adds continuity to that defense. I don't have any worries about Duke's defense continuing to be the strength. They'll rely on that defense. Malik Murphy's a really talented quarterback, can do a lot of things at the position. He's a true X factor at the position. They've got the running back. They've got a couple good running backs, but what does the offensive line and what do the receivers look like? And, we talk about these games they have to win. You may have to get into a shootout in a lot of these games. Georgia Tech, you probably certainly have to get into a shootout. You're going to have to put up points if you want to beat Georgia Tech. North Carolina, talented offense. I know people don't love Max Johnson as much as I do, but you're going to have to put up points. Go on the road, Miami, NC State, two really good teams. You have to score a lot. Virginia Tech, you'll have to score a lot. So can they keep up with these teams? Because there are some good offenses. Last couple of weeks last couple of times we've talked about the ACC. We've talked about how good the defenses are, and there's some really good defensive coaches in this conference. But there's some high-powered offenses too, namely Georgia Tech. So if Duke can put up some points, I don't have any doubts that they can get to 6 wins.
Well, the comment – I was going to say the comment about Will's returning receivers. They do return Jordan Moore, the leading receiver last year.
Yes.
So who has over almost close to 800 yards last year, I think.
Yeah.
So they bring in some guys. They got some young guys who are going to get a chance to play this year. The offense, I'm not as worried, but the defense is going to be a little lackluster on the defensive line, but there's that secondary and the linebacker crew. It's veteran guys. You got talented guys. You bring Alex Howard from A&M, who was a 4-star linebacker or a 3-star linebacker out of high school.
Yeah. Well,
they did lose their leading tackler from last year. Dorian Mousey transferred to Auburn. So they're going to have to fill that hole there. But, like you said, they've got depth there, and they made some additions to plug that hole. So Manny Diaz so far has done a lot of good work, and, he's more than capable to get them to 6 wins. He went over 6 every year at Miami. I'm pretty sure.
I think they went. Yeah, I think so.
I think they went bowling all 3 years he was there.
Well, and here's something too. One of the big concerns when you look into Duke is the offensive line. They lose an All-ACC left tackle. They bring in a couple transfers to pair with a couple incumbent guys. Is that going to be good enough? Because look, Ralph, you mentioned the running back that they bring back, but they lost Jordan Waters, and that was a guy who was very dynamic for them. And he just kind of, he's at NC State now, so he's even stayed in the state and transferred out. So, what does that position look like, and their ability to run the ball to help acclimate Malik Murphy into what they want to do? But Malik Murphy won some games for Texas. Like, he is not. This is not a guy that we haven't seen play. And like Ralph said. Ralph, one of the best things I think you said, and I do agree with you, is the upside with Malik Murphy might be higher than it was with Ryan Leonard. Ryan Leonard's floor might be higher, but Malik Murphy is. I mean, look,
He's-
that kid
he's
would be
still
playing
a-
at
he's still
Texas
athletic,
this
dude.
year if Quinn Ewers might not be there. And
Yeah,
that's
agreed.
Yeah, he might be.
I mean, he would it potentially could have been a first round pick if he stayed at Texas and got to play, 2 or 3 years. I mean, the dude's that super athletic. He's strong. He reminds me a lot of a little shorter version of KJ Jefferson when he was at Arkansas his first 2 years, when he would just kind of take off and just run people over. He's got that size. He's got the speed. And he's athletic, man. It's just one of those things you don't get much out of those quarterbacks these days who can do all. I'm not saying he's perfect, but he's not a bad quarterback. He's not a drop off from Riley Leonard.
I'm with you. Heartsick Disciple says Duke should definitely win at least 6. I don't even want to know what that. I don't know what that profile picture. I'm not sure what we're doing. I thought this was an ode to Brian Harsin at first, and then I was like, but anyways, Auburn's not on this list, by the way. But Ralph, I like it. Duke over 5.5 wins. Ralph, are you locking that in as a spring training, a preseason kind of best bet to get us kicked off?
Why not?
Nothing official on the books.
Yeah,
but just kind of we'll monitor.
Well, I'm staying behind my pick. I'm going. I chose for over 5.5. I'm taking it. I think I get 6.
I'm probably going to take that too. I like that. All right, let's move on. The third and final team, my pick. I'm going to the SEC, where I think, and we can talk about this. I think Oklahoma is going to be pretty good this year. I think I'm going to say this too, because tomorrow night I'm talking about a team they're going to be playing as a disappointment in 2024. I think Oklahoma is going to roll into Death Valley.
Oh boy!
Saturday after Thanksgiving, with a playoff opportunity on the line.
Ralph, it sounds like Bryce lied to us earlier.
Yeah,
he told us the check cleared earlier. Now he's changed his tune.
Look, this is where I sit with this. Oklahoma, when you look at what they bring to the table, obviously the big storyline has been the transition from the Big 12 to the SEC. What's going to work? But all this hinges on is Jackson Arnold. I don't want to say they push Dylan Gabriel out. I mean, Dylan Gabriel is a very, very good quarterback. Real quick, we got to get this comment. Profile pick is at the top of Guadalupe Peak in West Texas. It's the highest point in the state. That's amazing. That's way better than Brian Harsin. All right, so Oklahoma, I'm taking them over 7.5 wins. I think all of it hinges on Jackson Arnold. If he is the guy, they can win some games in the SEC. You take a look at their schedule. It's going to be interesting to see how they can navigate it. Will, I'm not completely sold that when Tulane visits them that they can win. And I addressed Will, not Ralph, because of personal reasons. But
I appreciate
Tulane is going to make the trip up to Oklahoma. Tennessee goes there. Auburn wins there. Auburn goes there. But
Auburn does not go to Oklahoma. Oklahoma goes to Auburn.
They go to Auburn. They could lose that game to Auburn. They could, maybe. I don't know. But if Jackson Arnold is a guy for them in this conference, you have to have a dude. Every single team that wins, regardless if you think the team's so good around them or not, that it elevates to play the quarterback. That's how college football and team building works, by the way. You have to have a guy. Like, Will, I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but that's Auburn's conversation. Auburn's got all this skill, talent everywhere, but if you don't have a dude, none of it matters. And Oklahoma could sit in the same boat if Arnold's not that, because I do think they have talent around them. Now, look, they've got to find some things. Gabriel got hurt last year. He was kind of foot out the door. Arnold was kind of up and down. We know he has the God-given talent, but this is a guy who, if he puts it together, he can really, really be good. They bring in Seth Luttrell as their OC. I'm excited to see how that works, just in terms of implementing what they want to do offensively. Don't. That is a very good.
Google him and look at his picture. Google Seth Luttrell. That dude.
Yes, this is true.
Don't mess with him.
It's a new offense too, though. You bring in new OC. You have 4 guys, only 4 players who started as many as 6 games on the offensive side of the football. That could be a concern. They don't return a lot there. They do have veteran receivers. They're going to bring back Andrew Anthony, Jareel Farouk, and Nick Anderson. Purdue transfer Deion Burks, who was really solid for a bad Purdue team. He's going to give more kind of proven production to this group. But as a lot of people have talked
that
about,
picture
this
doesn't even
offensive
do it
line,
justice. It doesn't even do it justice.
Oh my gosh. The offensive line is going to be a question mark. For sure. Like we've talked about that. We got yelled about that on our kind of post spring evaluations of these teams. But if the offense can be good enough, I think they can get to 8 wins. And the reason being really true is because I think this defense will be pretty good. They bring back 11 of their top 13 tacklers. Brent Venables has started to build what they want there. They added high impact defensive line transfer Dominic Williams out of TCU, who dominated what they wanted to do over in kind of Fort Worth, Dallas area, whatever you want to call it. But I really do like how they have built this defense under Brent Venables. I think the defense is ready to play in the SEC, and somebody can clip that if they get blown out. That's completely fine. Offensively, if they can make the adjustments, you look at this schedule. What is a path to 8 wins? Temple, I hope they beat Temple. If not, I'll stop talking. Houston, I don't think Houston's going to be very great in year one under Willie Fritz. I think they can beat Tulane. That's going to be a really, really good game, though, actually. So that's 3 wins. And then you get into the conference portion. You have Maine, so there's 4. Can you find 4 more wins? Well, here's where I'm going to find 4 more wins. I think Oklahoma can go in and beat Auburn if Peyton Thorne is not that guy. I think Auburn has a lot of weapons, but I think they can go beat them. Tennessee comes to Oklahoma. High-profile game. Josh Heupel's return to the Sooner State. That's going to be interesting. That's kind of a flip game for me. Texas, they've beaten Texas before when Texas was perceived to be the better team. So why not this time? Anything can happen in that game. I think they can beat South Carolina. They get them at home. They go to Ole Miss. They host Alabama. They go to Missouri. They go to LSU. If you give me 4 wins against your non-conference, if you win every single non-conference game, and I'm saying you beat Auburn and I'm saying that you beat South Carolina, that's 6 wins, and I need 2 more. I think you could beat LSU. You could hypothetically beat Missouri. You could hypothetically beat Texas. The only teams I don't know if you can beat is maybe Alabama and maybe going to Ole Miss. That's the ones I'm kind of nervous to say anything about. But guys, that's kind of where I sit with this. I think they could get to 8 wins. If they somehow get to 9 wins, you're talking about a 9-3 team with wins over potentially 6, 7 top 25 teams. That might be enough to get you into that 12-team playoff. So that's kind of where I sit with Oklahoma. We talked a little bit about that defense. They have 2 first-team all Big 12 guys they're bringing over. I talked about Dominic Williams as well. So I just think that they have a legitimate shot to surprise some folks in the SEC in year one. The hype's around Texas, but I don't think people are talking enough about what Oklahoma could do in year one in the SEC.
I agree with you there. I think Oklahoma's going to be better than a lot of people think, but that number scares me, 7.5, and it's because of the back half of this schedule.
Yeah,
going to Ole Miss is going to be tough. Going to Missouri is going to be tough. Alabama's going to be tough. Going to LSU is always tough. No matter.
Going to Auburn's tough.
No.
Jordan Hare is rocking. That.
That's an afternoon kickoff. ESPN said Auburn's not allowed to have any night games. Got to do all they can to.
It's like Georgia for about 4 years.
Got to do all they can to not give Auburn any advantages there.
Look what you've done.
It'll be like 200 degrees at Jordan Hare Stadium that day. So who knows what the crowd's going to look like. This is one of the toughest schedules in the SEC.
It is
conference schedules. It's asking a lot, especially of a first year starting quarterback. I certainly, like you said, like the talent around him. I have no concerns about the defense, Brent Venables' defense. This schedule is just really hard. I mean, you talked about Tulane. They could very well drop that game at home to Tulane. And then you're fighting to get back to 8 wins, and you're going to have to probably upset somebody. So, I think they'll be good. I like what Brent Venables has done so far and what he's done to get his program ready for the SEC. 8 wins is going to be a job to get to 8 wins.
Let me ask you this real quick. Looking at this schedule, am I crazy for saying that you could be 6-1 rolling into Oxford?
No.
And Will, to your point, like there's a bunch of, and as Matt says here, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. You're exactly right. But it's a lot of boom or bust potential here because that you're right in that. But I don't as much as we could say, hey, what if it's a nightmare season? You lose to Houston, you lose to Tulane. They could also roll into Oxford, having dropped one game, and the one game I would be hesitant to maybe say they drop. Texas, Tennessee. I mean, I don't know. Like Auburn, you could roll into Oxford with 6 wins.
They could roll into Oxford with 4 wins and walk out with a win. I mean, they could have dropped 2 or 3 games and roll into Oxford with a win. I think that they're that talented.
Yeah. Because we're saying they beat Temple, beat Houston, beat Tulane. That's 3-0. Let's say they drop. They beat. I'm giving them a win against South Carolina.
Easily a win against Maine.
So what is that? That's 5 wins.
That's 5 right there.
Can they find 3 wins against Tennessee, Auburn, Texas, Ole Miss, Alabama, Missouri, LSU?
Yes.
I mean, I think they could beat LSU coming in.
They can.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. Interesting to watch. Ralph,
are you going to lock it in? Are you locking it in, Bryce? Over?
Yeah, I'll lock it in. This is not on the books here. Dr. Bob's not putting this in the spreadsheet. So, we're just kind of getting our spring training legs in. This is like that first appearance. You're only going to throw about 15, 20 pitches to get the body warm. I'm going Oklahoma over 7.5 wins. I think they could hit it.
I just want to say a few things. I like what y'all said about Jackson Arnold. We saw it last year. It was a little up and down, not really perfect, but you're not ready yet. You weren't technically in quotations ready to go. You got a full off season now as a starter. You're not backing anyone up. You're not behind Caleb Williams anymore. I think was he behind Caleb Williams at one point, or did he come in after Caleb Williams left?
I think he came in as a freshman the year Wade Williams left. I believe, but I could be wrong.
But still, either way, he was behind Dylan Gabriel. He learned a lot from him. Probably, that's a guy he's a good football player. I've read about him where he talks about Chris talking about he'll be a great coach one day. Dylan Gabriel's got a good mindset in the game. He knows the ball. He knows how to play. Knows the game up and down. Arnold's got a good coaching staff around him, and he got great weapons around him. He's going to do fine, I think. It's just that there's little jitters to get as a starter instantly, but I think he'll settle in. That week 1 game against Temple, he might look a little shaky at first, but I think he'll settle in real quick and just start kind of to fill the crowd and look like we think he's going to look. I mean, he's an athlete. He was a 5-star quarterback. He was one of the highly wanted quarterbacks in the country at one point. That's not because he was just some fluke. I mean, he's good.
Yeah, I mean, you go back to that game against Arizona, which I don't remember what bowl game that was for Oklahoma and Arizona last year. He threw for 361 yards, 2 touchdowns, but also was the Texas Bowl?
It was the Valero Alamo Bowl.
Alamo Bowl.
Got okay. There's like 700 bowl games in Texas, anyways. But Oklahoma had 6 turnovers, and he had 4 of them. But this is the thing with Jackson Arnold, and a lot of people are going to look at this. When we post just this Oklahoma segment, and they're going to sit there and say, "Well, Bryce, he was really, really bad in the bowl game last year." People are allowed to improve and develop. That's all I'm going to say.
And hey, guess what? Bowl games don't matter. Bowl games do not matter.
Let me tell you something. If you're going to talk crap about about Oklahoma, talk to him.
That's so scary.
Talk to him.
For our audio listeners, we have a picture of Seth Luttrell. Make sure you Google that.
It's a picture of him in North Texas.
Listen, if you're a guy watching this, which I think it's like 96% of our audience is guys, make sure your wife's not in the room. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
When you pull up the picture of Seth Luttrell. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But hey, surprises. Let's go real quick recap. Will is going with UCF over, what was it, Will? 6.5 or 7.5?
7.5.
Ralph is taking Duke over 5.5 wins. And I'm taking Oklahoma for 7.5. And it's going to be a lot of fun to kind of watch how these things play out and really kind of see what happens. Tomorrow night, we're going to take a look at the disappointments. I've got mine locked in, and I hope that you tune in. I've already had a couple people on the Go 24/7 message board get at me a little bit about it. That's my biggest disappointment. Ralph, nobody can see what you have behind you.
Well, I've had problems with my power all day. My camera's slow now. Everything's just going great.
That's good.
Do we want to throw in some honorable mentions before we get out of here?
Yeah, we'll throw in a couple. We won't have to discuss a lot, but just everybody take one honorable mention. Let's do that.
I'm probably going to steal Ralph's. Vanderbilt over 2.5 wins.
Gosh dang it, dude.
I mean, they've got to win I think, is it in November? I can't remember if it's November or if it's the October game. They go down to Auburn. They're gonna go win that game. Clark Lee went and got all the people he knows he needed to go beat Auburn. He went and got Diego and Jerry Kill.
Somebody please. We're gonna open up a PO box so people can start sending Will like just things to make him happy. Please, somebody help Will. That's what we need here.
Diego is gonna be out there laying out safeties in a Vandy uniform.
All right, you ready for mine?
Yeah.
I got Kennesaw State over 2.5.
We're going that low. Dang.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Michigan State over 4.5.
Matt says
Michigan
Ralph
State's
lives in North
4.5.
Korea with those rolling blackouts.
Wow.
See, Ralph took it seriously. I went with the newbies to the room. Bryce confirmed risky better.
No, he's not. That'd be Will and I. That would 100% be Will and I.
Yeah, just wait for when we unveil everything. Gonna be interesting. You know, look a couple other, just of those. Texas State at 8.5.
Whoa.
We're high on Texas State, baby. They're high on Texas
they
State.
they lost TJ Finley, so I'm not sure.
But they got James Madison's quarterback though.
That's
Jordan
true.
McLeod.
He's good.
Yeah.
I think he was featured throwing an interception in the CFB 25 trailer.
Ooh. There's a couple other
Something
good
to think
ones.
about.
Just something to think about. I went to go click on the Mountain West and forgot that I don't care. So that's where
Troy's is 6.5 for anyone who doesn't really care. Gotcha.
there's that.
I mean,
There's
you
that.
lost the NCAA's all-time leading rusher. I mean, it's a rebuild.
It is. It's rebuild.
Louisiana Monroe is at 2.5. Who wants to take the over in that?
I don't think someone could pay me to go to one of those games.
App State is 8.5. It's them and James Madison.
Actually, I got another one because I looked at it earlier. Don't say it, Ralph. Georgia State over 4.5 wins.
Jesus.
You telling me they just got to get to 5? Give me the Panthers.
What's their schedule? We want to talk about the schedule.
Nope, I don't.
I mean, they're taking down the folks of the Dirty Noog. I mean, I know that much.
Be careful over there.
It's your
I don't
favorite thing
know.
to say. Why am I in the middle?
Don't worry about it.
Why am I on the screen?
Just be quiet.
Let's just Will's going
Just
to
sit
take
there.
Georgia State to win over Georgia Tech.
I
no,
am.
He's not. Oh God.
You'll see me there. I'll have my shirt on. They
Let's
host
just have
Vanderbilt.
your-
I mean, Vandy's at 2.5 wins.
Well,
said
I'm
who-
telling you, you and Ralph are going to be at that game.
Who
With
says
you.
Georgia State can't beat them?
You'll be there too, right? Because don't leave us alone.
At Vanderbilt.
Not
They
at
play
Vanderbilt. I'm not.
UConn?
Gonna
We're
do
just
that. All right.
whatever.
Stanford over 3.5.
Oh God! Just play the outro.
Yeah. Hey, we appreciate everyone for watching. If you're listening, we appreciate Believe. We appreciate Bet Online for being the official sponsor of all your sports betting needs. Make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on Twitter, hey, look at that. Over 156 people watching live. We appreciate you. We will
It's more than
see
30.
you. We will see you tomorrow night live, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. The biggest disappointments that we expect to see in 2024. I know Will's going to say Auburn, so we just who knows. Hit
I'm
that
not.
like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We will catch you next
I'm
time here
not.
on the Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.